Did you know K-Flock was found not guilty in the passing of Oscar Hernandez? This resulted in his next possible release date being announced. It was shared, K-Flock found not guilty of M charges, but guilty of 5 other charges, including possession and RICO. But with creative lawyer work, Flock's lawyer mentioned that the 5 guilty charges do not faze him. The passing of Hernandez's charge was the main concerning charge. With Flock beating that charge, it will reflect on his release date. With it reported, the prosecutors have put in a letter sharing. It could be misunderstood to mean the jury must determine whether the defendant, with his idiosyncrasies, believed the victim was about to use physical force, which is good news for Flock as it suggests the jury considered his personal perspective instead of just a general reasonable person standard, because the way that Flock grew up, he was more inclined to feel fear in the moment with Oscar. This is how his self-defense claim worked on the M charge, which resulted with this positive call from Flock in jail.
Talk to them, Flock. Talk to them, my dog. Soon come home, man. You got these little boys walking around with no jewels, Flock. They need you. They need you, Flock.
I'm coming, man.
This even resulted in Lil TJ saying "Free K-Flock" while leaving Bobby saying this before trial.
What's it like for you watching the K-Flock thing happen? That's crazy. Next big artist coming out of New York.
I love Flock, so I like that. That's my guy.
Okay.
But you know, I'm wishing him the best right now, you know what I'm saying? And you know, for the alleged charges they pushing on him, you know what I'm saying? I'm wishing his family the best. I'm wishing the whole team the best and everything, you know what I'm saying? And I hope he beat them alleged charges, you know what I'm saying? Because he got a lot of future brightness he got, and I hope, you know what I'm saying?
That would be a sad story if that's the end of it.
No, we ain't gonna think like that, you know what I'm saying?
You gotta stay positive.
But the charges he's found guilty on are because his gang members snitched on him. It was announced that K-Flock reportedly used a firearm against someone who used one against his friend in 2020. Today, that friend testified against him. The snitch's name is Brockington, otherwise known as Dougie on the streets, but not to be confused with Flock's best friend Dougie B, because Dougie, who got arrested for selling, threw K-Flock under the rug, and his snitching affects his release date, because he basically got Flock guilty on the 5 other charges he faced. But to see his release date, you need to read the case file, because prosecutors asked Dougie in court, "After you got hit, who called you in the hospital?" Dougie answered, "K-Flock called. He said, you know we got you, bro." He follows it up by saying he was gonna retaliate against whoever hit me. The prosecutors asked him to flat out admit it by asking, "Flock hit them up in retaliation for you?" Dougie said yes, and that someone got grazed during the altercation. Most importantly, they asked if Flock was seen with a firearm, which is one of the charges he was found guilty on. Dougie admits Flock had one on him and that he was on call with rival team members who circled their block, which lines up with the passing of Oscar Hernandez, with Flock's best friend B Love saying,
okay, but so I saw some fans who were off at both me and academics after K-Flock got locked up because, well, just because I guess, like, you know, in our tone when we talked about it, you know, it might have seemed like we were being a little too presumptuous. But is that weird for you? Because I'm sure you see people all the way from rappers to whoever acting like, you know, your boy is just done and he's cooked in this situation.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, people, especially people that don't even be knowing, like, y'all don't even know what's going on, bro. Yeah.
He said this because the court files explained how the murder happened. As on December 23rd, 2021, K-Flock was charged with the passing of Oscar Hernandez. He's seen walking down the sidewalk with his sister. Flock's wearing a blue coat, shiesty mask, and designer jeans. Flock walks past a barbershop, and Oscar Hernandez notices him from inside. Oscar runs out to yell at Flock, saying, "What are you looking at?" With them having a street history with each other, they start yelling back and forth. But as Flock decides to leave it and continue on his way, Oscar follows him. For a split second, you can see Oscar thinking to leave Flock alone and walk back to the shop, but instead he continued to escalate the situation. Oscar is seen grabbing inside his jacket pockets. Once Flock noticed this, he turned around, whipped out his firearm, and used it against Oscar. Hitting Oscar multiple times, he fell to the ground and Flock fled the scene. Trying to save his life, witnesses dialed 911 and he'd be transferred to a local hospital. Unfortunately, he did not survive his injuries. All that was left at the scene for evidence were shell casings and Oscar's slides that he was wearing. The case was a mystery for 24 hours. The NYPD had no lead on who the masked man was other than seeing him in the security footage. So they reached out to the public for information and posted this photo of Flock from the footage. Unfortunately for Flock, he had posted this jacket before, and hours before the crime, he was seen on live with the same jacket and mask on. He was quickly ratted out to the authorities. With a warrant out for his arrest, Flock hired one of the best lawyers in the game and walked into the police station with him. His lawyer released a statement saying, "I accompanied Kevin as he self-surrendered to detectives in the 30th precinct. Arrangements were immediately made with the NYPD once I learned he was wanted. wanted. As to the charges against him, we have begun our investigation into these allegations. We will address bail once we have had a chance to review the case and further investigate the DA's noteworthy disclosure. Immediately, his lawyer gathered all evidence from the crime that he could and began the self-defense argument.
When the guy hits the ground and is found, he's got a loaded that was in his pocket that his hand was on at the time. We consider that to be self-defense.
So he did take him in self-defense.
That's what the allegation is. I don't want to talk too much about the details of the case,
Okay.
but the government claims that he pulled the. But at the same time, the person that was on the ground had his hand on a illegal loaded.
Okay. So without saying too much, you're arguing obviously self-defense.
That could be one of the arguments, self-defense. And I would say to the public, somebody's walking up to you with a loaded, it's pretty clear is going to use it, with a criminal record a mile long. Do you want to get or do you not want to?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't hesitate to pull the.
But the Fed statement believes it's all because of rival street teams beefing with each other, as Flock has a long affiliation with a third side street team. With Flock having publicity, he had a lot of control in the game and was often the one retaliated against by his ops. However, Flock's situation got much worse once they announced K. Flock was indicted by a federal grand jury for multiple new racketeering conspiracy charges, also known as RICO charges. Hip-hop creators reacted to the news saying, K. Flock just caught a RICO, it's really over. Academics also said, Feds just unsealed an indictment on K. Flock for a RICO charge. The mandatory minimum if he doesn't beat those charges or snitch is life in prison. He still is facing state charges that have him locked up. Flock's lawyers reacted to the RICO charge saying, we're not surprised by the federal charges as we've been fighting Kevin's state charges for over a year now. Considering the incident was a clear act of self-defense, it wasn't a strong charge. But the fact it's now being used as a basis for a penalty charge is extraordinary. It's crystal clear on video that Kevin was about to be affected after trying to walk away from the other person. Only then did Kevin use an item to defend himself and his sister, as the armed team member was about to pull out a firearm from his pocket. Unfortunately, Flock was found guilty on most of the evidence, but on day one, a court reporter thought it was going well for him. With them reporting, day one of K. Flock's trial is over. Instant thoughts are, the prosecutors are not ready. They're stuttering many words, not answering the judge's questions, and not supplying evidence to defend K. Flock's lawyer's defense. But K. Flock joins this list of rappers that have been targeted by the feds. Cause did you know Lil Baby was just called out by the feds?
The investigation aspect of this, Lamont Freeman was allowed to be a 13-year-old for 27 minutes before gang violence ultimately took his life. Gang violence was orchestrated by adults in our city. And cowardly acts of an Atlanta-based rapper that decided to go over into a rival gang stronghold and shoot a music video in a place that he knew he should not have been. And in the subsequent days, we saw and ultimately the deaths of 2 children as a result of his cowardly actions. And you know who you are. And I tell you that this team will work relentlessly to hold you and the persons that you are affiliated with responsible for those actions.
Even Young and Ace was name dropped by the Jacksonville sheriff. Are we witnessing an official rap takedown by police?
So Young and Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them. I won't speak to the chief's investigation. That's up to TPD. We don't have an investigation on him right now, but he can't move around in Jacksonville without us knowing about it. And that's for the betterment of our community.
But reporters also noted Flock had been emotional during a lot of the trial, but his lawyers tried reassuring him they were going to beat the case. So much so that they had Flock share this message.
I know what's going on, man. Flock, I know something, man. Like, me to the guys, man. Hey, yo, like, I'll be back real soon. Shout out to my fans and my supporters, man. I love all y'all, man. For all the youth out there, violence, man. For me, and do what y'all supposed to do, man. For me, get through life correctly, bro. Like, get money, man.
But at the end of the day, the feds will always find a way to keep these rappers, as it relates to exactly how Boozy spoke on Melly's situation, saying the feds will do anything to keep you.
When they want you, they want you. I knew they wanted them bad when they waited for that law to get passed. So it'd be 8-4.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know, they waited all the way till that law got passed to take him to trial.
Yeah, he was sitting in jail for what, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, they could have been took you to trial.
You're right.
They waited till that law got passed and took him to trial a couple months later. When they want you, man. Just don't see how he didn't get a bond after a fucking mistrial.
However, official news outlets reveal K. Flock's release date is likely in the 20-year range.